I want to show you a couple settings that you can change to help control all of the notifications and pop-ups and sounds and things that go on your iPad during the day. So one of the things that happens is while you're using your device, you might see these little messages that pop up from the top. Those messages are what they call notifications. And you can control which apps send you notifications and which ones don't in your settings. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my settings app. And in the settings, over here on the left-hand side, there's an option that says notifications. Now, when I click on notifications, it's going to show me all of the different apps that I have installed on my device. And each app has its own set of notifications that's going to pop up. So, for example, here's the Google Classroom app. And if I tap on that, I can choose whether to allow notifications for that app or not. So if I do choose to allow notifications, then I get a few different options on what types of notifications I can get. So I can choose whether or not that will make a sound if I get a notification, which is pretty handy if you're in the middle of class. I can also choose whether or not this notification is going to show up when my device is locked or just when I have it unlocked. Once I have received notifications, and if I wanted to go back and look at those notifications again, I can swipe down from the top of my screen and it'll show me what notifications I've received. That is called my history, so I can choose whether or not that those notifications are going to show up in my history or not. And then I can choose whether or not these notifications that I get, do I want them to pop up on my screen at all? They call those banners. And if I turn them on, I get two different types. I have temporary, which means it's going to pop up for a second and then disappear. Or persistent means it will stay on there until I tap and swipe it away to make it go disappear. So I would recommend leaving some notifications on, especially in specific things that you're going to be using for school. So for example, things like Gmail, you probably want to get notifications, but you might want to turn sounds off, for example. Some notifications, like this Gmail option here, also has an option here for the badge app icon. What that means is if this is something where you're going to get a certain number of notifications, like a certain number of emails, if I turn that on, it will put a little red circle in the corner of the app that shows me how many notifications I get. So in Gmail specifically, if I have the badge app icon turned on, then it'll show me how many messages I have. There's a couple other places that I can adjust notifications, but I'm going to come back to that in a second. So while I'm here in settings, another option I wanted to show you is an option here called Do Not Disturb. All right, so Do Not Disturb you might be familiar with. This is the little moon logo that shows up. It's in your control center. If I go into my control center, it shows up in here too. But the Do Not Disturb mode actually can be automatically turned off and on to prevent getting notifications that are going to come through while your device is locked. So this doesn't affect it when you're using your device and when it's open, but let's say you're going to bed at night and you're getting messages, things coming through, things popping up on your device that you don't want. You can turn on Do Not Disturb, which means anytime my device is locked, which means at that lock screen, it won't get notifications until I unlock that device. But my favorite part is I can actually schedule that. So let's say I go to bed at 10 o'clock every night and I get up at maybe 6 o'clock every morning. I could schedule my own quiet hours, which means from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m., when my device is sitting there charging, hopefully, it will not get any notifications, but then come 6 a.m., then all my notifications are going to all show up on my screen at one time. Another option to help you manage your notifications has to do with Control Center. And so if I double tap on my settings, this little bell here is what they call silent mode. Your phone has a ringer that most likely you can hit a little switch to turn off and on. This is essentially the ringer on your iPad. So if I turn it on with the little bell red, then it will actually turn off all sounds on my device, so that if I am working and I'm getting messages, or I'm in the middle of class or taking a test, I can turn off all of my sound. It's probably a good idea to do that during the day while you're in school, unless you're using a specific app that requires it. One last place you can find some notifications has to do specifically with certain apps. So Google Classroom, for example, is an app that gives you a whole bunch of different notifications. They tell you anytime you have something coming up, anytime you have an assignment due, anytime somebody creates a new assignment, there's a whole bunch of different notifications that you're going to get. And so in Classroom, if I actually open up the Classroom app and I click on these three lines up here in the corner and I scroll all the way down, there's an option for settings. If I tap on settings, tells me a little bit about my account and about my app, but there's an option in here for notifications also. And from here, I can choose which notifications that I want to receive. All right, so I can choose whether or not, hey, somebody sends me an email, or do I want to receive an email every time there's a notification? I can turn these off and on. All right, now you still need to make sure that you're getting notifications, that you're staying caught up and up to date on your work, but you maybe don't need every single one of these turned on at all time. All right, so that's how you can adjust notifications and help control how many of those little pop-up messages you're going to get on a regular basis.